All right. That recording in progress is a signal that our service is beginning. Our new year as Fellowship of Spirit is beginning, and today is the 1st of January, 2023. It really is hard for me to think of that, 2023. But I never thought I'd make it this long, but I have. Anyway, we're glad that you're here, and we have a terrific lineup today. We have, well, I'm going to be reading the spiritual reading, and then Margaret and Steve and Betty are going to be singing for us, and Betty is going to be, Margaret is going to be playing the piano as soon as she gets here. And then Mark Wolf from Northern Kentucky is going to be giving us our New Year's message. So that's exciting. I'm just anxious to hear what he has to say, which is going to be good. It's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be uplifting and informative. It will be useful in a spiritual and a practical way. A lot of times people think that spirituality is not practical. For me, if it's not practical, it's probably not spiritual, but because, it's probably ego if it's not practical. So anyway, Margaret is here. Our timing was impeccable. So.
You didn't get a ticket, did you? Good to see you.
Okay, so we have just begun, Margaret. We're going to be ready for you, and by the time that you get up and get ready, it'll be just perfect. We're really glad to have Susan Falco and her husband with us today. Jenny's here, John and Margot is here. Kate is with us. Susan from Belize, Don and Neva are here, and Yvette Gaia Love is here from Colorado. And of course, Mark Wolf is with us also. And then here in the sanctuary, we have Betty and Jerry and Marion and Shay. We have Steve, and we have Margaret and myself. And so this is a pretty good turnout on such a gloomy day. So we're just real, and Jim is here. Jim Jones is here in the back. Huh? I said Jim is here. That's what I just said. So, are you ready, Margaret? Oh, she's still preparing.
Just about here.
So I'll just rattle on here until you get ready. Give me a signal when you're ready, okay? Yeah. So I hope everyone had a great New Year's, a great Christmas, and Margaret has now signaled that she is ready, and we're going to have our prelude, and it's entitled, I Believe, composed by Irvin Drake. All right. Thank. Beautiful, beautiful arrangement. You played it really well. Yeah. So, let us pray. Father, Mother God, we thank you. Thank you for this day, for this opportunity to come together, to learn and love and to learn about love and to learn about being together. We thank you for the fellowship of spirit. We thank you for all who support our fellowship. And we ask that in this new year that you would guide us and direct us to the wonderment of spiritual unfoldment so that we may be able to be more and more closer to you as we move through this new year in safety and in happiness. Amen. All right. So, and now we have, you guys ready to sing? Or jump up there. Okay, there's a song in the air. Well, it's like me. I tell everybody I run everywhere I go. It's just a matter of perspective.
I can get up there first. You got it. Oh, you got a handle. It's okay.
Yeah, there we go. So, where are you guys going to be?
I guess kind of.
Well,
Turn it on back here.
You're right. I thought it was on.
That's right. So there you go.
it is now.
Test.
Test.
Hey, Jim, can you boost it just a little bit, please? You know which one it is?
I think he knows.
I think it says Maine. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay.
All right. Ready? Ready as I'll ever be. Okay.
This is.
There's a song in the air. There's a star in the sky. There's a mother's deep prayer. And the babies will cry. When the story takes part of music will sing. For the manger of Bethlehem cradles a king. There's a tumult of joy for the wonderful bird. For the virgins reborn is the Lord of the earth. For the servants around the beautiful scene. For the manger of Bethlehem cradles a king. In the light of the star, on the ages incurred, and I saw from afar, as went downward the world. Every heart is aflame at a beautiful scene. In the homes of the nations, where Jesus is King. Rejoice in all night. We echo the song that has come from the night, from the heavenly throng. For we shout to the Lord, we till we bring, and we bring in His cradle, our Savior and King.
All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So now we're going to recite our reflective moment. I'll wait until Margaret gets to her seat. She's going all the way back there. She's not going to her seat. So, okay. So everyone follow along with me. Love produces a flow of energy that I now feel. I love others more than ever, and I feel privileged to be here. Love flows from one person to another as we create an atmosphere of holiness. And so it is. All right. So, and I opened up the spiritual reading. It's with I was going to try to do Emmett Fox, but I didn't have time to find my Emmett Fox book. So I'm doing Conversations with God, Book 1, and I opened this up to a section which is always pertinent. And it says, what would love do now? No other question is relevant. No other question is meaningful. No other question has any importance to your soul. Now we come upon a very delicate point of interpretation. For this principle of love, sponsored action has been widely misunderstood, and it is the misunderstanding which has led to the resentments and angers of life, which in turn have caused so many to stray from the path. For centuries, you have been taught that love, sponsored action, arises out of the choice to be, do, and have whatever produces the highest good for another. Yet I tell you this, the highest choice is that which produces the highest good for you. As with all profound spiritual truth, this statement upon itself opens itself to immediate misinterpretation. The mystic clears a bit the moment one decides what is the highest good one could do for oneself. And when the absolute highest choice is made, the mystery dissolves. The circle completes itself, and the highest good for you becomes the highest good for another. It may take many lifetimes to understand this, and even more lifetimes to implement, for this truth revolves around an even greater one. What you do for yourself, you do for another. What you do for another, you do for yourself. This is because you and the other are one. And this is because there is naught but you. All the masters who have walked your planet have taught this. Verily, verily, I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these, my brethren, ye have done it unto me. Yet this has remained for most people merely a grand esoteric truth with little practical application. In fact, it is the most practical, applicable, esoteric truth of all time. It is important in relationships to remember this truth, for without it, relationships will be very difficult. Let us go back to the practical application of this wisdom and step away from the purely spiritual, esoteric aspect of it for now. So often, under the old understanding, people well-meaning and well-intentioned and many very religious, did what they thought would be best for the other person in their relationships. Sadly, all this produced in most cases, was continued abuse by the other, continued mistreatment, continued dysfunction in the relationship. Ultimately, the person trying to do what is right by the other person to be quick to forgive, to show them compassion, to continually look past certain problems and behaviors, becomes resentful, angry, and mistrusting even of God. For how can a just God demand such unending suffering, joylessness, and sacrifice even in the name of love? The answer is God does not. God only asks that you include yourself among those you love. God goes further. God recommends that you put yourself first. I do this knowing full well that some of you will call this blasphemy and therefore not my word, and that others of you will do what might be even worse, accept it as my word and misinterpret it or distort it to suit your own purposes, to justify ungodly acts. I tell you this, putting yourself first in the highest sense never leads to an ungodly act. Okay, so that's what came to my attention. So now we have another song by the Dynamic Trio. while shepherds watch their flocks. It's on page 288. Oh, what happened? Thank you, Dynamic Trios. All right. So we have for you now Brother Mark Wolf coming from northern Kentucky, just a little south of Cincinnati, Ohio. And he's having a New Year Day over there too. And so he's not really separate from us, and he's going to be here with us right now. And let us welcome Brother Mark Wolf.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Mark.
I'm so pleased to be here with all of you here on this first day of 2023, and very happy to be among the first to wish all of you a happy new year. Do you realize we're nearly a quarter of the way through the 21st century?
I was just thinking, Terry.
Like, when did that happen? You know, what day was that? Well, excuse me. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started with our material this morning on this first morning of the new year. You know, ordinarily, I like to take a few seconds and suggest that you grab a piece of paper and a pencil in case you want to jot down some notes, maybe a reference to think about later, or an idea that you want to follow up on later in the week, or if nothing else, as I've said before, work on your grocery list. So we'll have productive time together this morning. So anyway, this morning we're going to do three things. We are going to address two sticky questions. One question will answer the other. And then we're going to do something special at the end. All right. So this first question is actually a question that my daughter asked a few weeks ago. She and I were watching the news. You know, I really try to keep up with the news. I really do. I just don't keep up with it daily. And sometimes I don't keep up with it closely, because the thing of it is that most of the time the news is upsetting. You know, and it's presented in a way that will be upsetting, and it's presented in a way to get a response of fear or anger, so that we'll come back and watch it again. You know, so I get my news in small doses, just so you know. Anyway, my daughter and I were watching the news, and there was a news story about some religious fundamentalists. Okay, now this is not a judgmental thing, but we have to talk about it. It was the religious fundamentalists in a large southern state.
Yeah.
Right. And they were demanding that the libraries there remove the books that did not support their church's teaching. Now you realize that would be all the books, right?
Possibly.
So they're protesting and they're carrying signs and they're putting pressure on their local government to force the library to take these books off the shelves and get them out of the reach of the general public. Now, I grew up in the 1960s. Okay, I'm old, you know, and so I'm about protesting and carrying signs. I get it. But I also believe it's a very simple formula that if you don't want to read a particular book, then don't read it. Okay, it's very complicated, but there it is. But please don't try to tell the rest of us what we can read and what we can have access to based on your church's teaching. Okay, it's not how America is supposed to operate. But you know how the news operates. They find the craziest or the most outlandish or the most radical person in the crowd, and then all the cameras focus on that individual. Okay, so that's what was happening here in this news story. And my daughter turned to me and she asked, and she said, what is it about religion that makes people crazy? We wonder about that sometimes. What is it about religion that makes otherwise nice people crazy? And even when I was in ministerial school 30 years ago at the Atlanta Church of Religious Science, my teacher there, Kennedy Schultz, used to say that he warned us about this very same thing. Dr. Schultz used to say, I don't know what it is about religion, but something about it makes people crazy and mean. So that's what we're going to talk about this morning. Okay, I think we need to talk about this. So the thing of it is, as I was thinking about this, that your children are seeing the same news. Your grandchildren are seeing the same news, and many similar news stories about intolerance and bigotry and just narrow-mindedness and meanness that's inspired by people's religion. And maybe they're looking at it and thinking, wow, well, if that's what religion does to people, I sure don't want any part of it. You know, atheists out there looking at that same news story and thinking, wow, well, if this is what it means to be a person of faith, count me out. And who could blame them? So here's what we need to tell them. All right. Now, part of the problem, okay, part of the problem is in the idea of fundamentalism itself. All right. Because as soon as we determine that we possess the one true and the one correct way, then everybody else is automatically wrong. All right. Well, our ego loves that. Okay. Because, well, we have the one true and correct teaching and everybody else is wrong. And if they're all wrong, well, God probably doesn't really care about them anyway. So why should we? And that makes my ego really important and really special. And before long, really big and mean. And I think that generally we understand this, that we understand there's no single way to reach the light of God. The path to God is within us. The light of God is within us. The presence of God is within us. And my path is not going to look exactly like your path. But your light will be beautiful. Your light will be perfect, but your light will not be like anyone else's. That's the beauty and the genius and the miracle of creation. And this is the reason why that we're warned not to take the stories in the Bible literally. Okay? Because as soon as you take it literally, there's only one meaning. All right? But don't take it literally because it won't make sense. It's not a book of stories. It's a book of spiritual teachings. And these spiritual teachings have layers of meaning. Okay? Rule of thumb, nothing in the Bible has only one meaning. All right? And so when people decide that, well, yes, it really does have only one meaning, and that meaning belongs to me and my church. Well, that creates an imbalance and it brings out the negative aspects. But now let's take it a step. We understand that. But now let's take it a step further and let's look at the actual spiritual mechanism or dynamic that causes that, because that's the cool part. It's actually very simple. Okay. And it's one of those things, after we look at it and talk about it, you're not going to be able to unsee it. Okay. We good with that?
Sure. Very good.
All right. Very good. Digging it. Okay. So I said we're going to look at two questions this morning because one question answers the other. And the first question is the one that my daughter asked. What is it about religion that seems to make people crazy? Now, for the second question, we're going to leave that for a moment. The second question, we're going to take a look in the book of Genesis in the Bible. Okay. We've looked at it before, but as I said, there's so many layers of wisdom and so many layers of meaning and application. And when you put these words in their original Hebrew, then it's not just the words that have meaning, but the individual letters have meaning. And it gets really amazing fast. So let's listen. On the first day of the new year, we're going to look at the first verse of the first chapter of the first book of the Bible, Genesis 1, verses 1 through 3. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God hovered over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Okay, very beautiful and familiar words. But wait a minute. Okay, listen. The Spirit of God hovered over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light." So our question is, when were the waters created? Okay, were the waters even created at all? How is it that the waters just seem to exist before creation began and before light and energy were called into being? Where did the waters come from? And evidently, these waters were not even part of the creation. So to find the answer to this question, and it's an interesting answer, to find the answer as well as the answer to my daughter's question, we have to turn away entirely from traditional religion, okay, and look instead to the mystical teachings, the hidden teachings of Judaism, okay? In order to learn the secret and unlock the wisdom, we have to look at the Kabbalah. In the teaching of the Kabbalah, it's very simple. Water is always a symbol of the love and kindness of God. And so when Genesis refers to the waters that appear to exist before creation, the waters that appear to exist independent of creation, it is referring to the love and the kindness of God. And the love and the kindness of God did indeed exist before creation began. Okay, it's very simple. But now let's take it a step farther. Okay, let's ask a question about water. All right, what does water always want to do? Okay, think about it. Water always wants to find its lowest level. Okay, now out in nature, water is always looking for sea level. Okay, so that's why if you drive up to Durango and you look at the Animas River, you'll see whitewater rapids. Okay, because the water is looking for sea level. It's in a hurry to get to sea level, and Durango is a long way above sea level. But when I was living in Florida 3 years ago, I went with my friend David Summers on his boat, and we took his boat up the Peace River, okay, which is there between Sarasota and Fort Myers. It was beautiful, beautiful blue sky, Spanish moss draped in the live oak trees, and we anchored the boat and watched the manatees feeding on water hyacinths. It was beautiful. Now, the Peace River is barely moving, okay? And actually, it moves so slowly that the water backs up, and when it flows into the Gulf of Mexico, the river, the mouth of the river is 7 miles wide. Now, why is the Peace River barely moving? Because it found what it wants. It found sea level. And the water in the Peace River has nowhere to go because it's already there. It's at sea level. So what's the hurry? We're there. And God's love and kindness, being spiritual waters, do exactly the same thing. The water of God's love is going to seek the lowest level. Okay. And so when people use religious practices to bring in the divine water, imagine what happens. Okay. People pray, and that brings down the water of God's love. Okay, it works. People read the Bible or other holy writings or inspirational materials, and that brings down the water of God's love. Or maybe. And people sing songs to God, and they light candles and they burn frankincense, and it brings down the water of God's love. Religious ceremonies and all of that, rituals, all of that, it brings down the water of God's love. And the water comes into human consciousness, and it wants to do what? It wants to find its lowest level. Okay, it wants to find sea level within each person who calls it down. And whatever it finds on that lowest level will be energized, and it will be brought out into the open. So if a person has, God forbid, if a person has bigotry or hatred or intolerance at their lowest level, then that's what the divine water will energize and manifest. Okay? If a person has anger or greed or adultery at their lowest level, then that's what the divine water is going to illuminate and bring out into the open when it gets there. So you see what's happening, okay? And so when we ask ourselves, what is it about religion that seems to make otherwise normal people crazy and mean? It's simply because they have brought down the water of God's love, and the water flowed to the lowest level within that person's consciousness and manifested what it found there. And all too often, what it seems to find when it floods the basement of human consciousness is a great big can of crazy. Now, the rabbi, okay, the rabbi from Nazareth, whose birth was just celebrated around the world last week, he talked about this exact thing, okay? Now, he didn't say great big can of crazy, but he did say this. Matthew chapter 7, verses 15 through 20. He says, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. You will know them by their fruits. Do you gather grapes from a thorn bush? Do you gather figs from a thistle? In the same way, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. Therefore, by your fruits, you will know them. Okay? Very familiar words. We know this. So, by their fruits, well, okay. What are their fruits? It is what they manifest outwardly from within. Okay? And so when we see religious people acting with intolerance and greed, or when we see religious people being unkind and unloving, we can know, and we can know this without being judgmental, we can know that their religious practices are doing exactly what religious practices are supposed to do. They're bringing down the water of God's love and kindness. And that water seeks the lowest level of human consciousness, and it energizes whatever it finds there. This is the reason, okay? This is the reason that we're told again and again, love one another, help one another, forgive one another, share with one another, be kind, and be honest. Okay? Again, the rabbi said, and we're looking at Matthew chapter 5, verses 23 and 24. The rabbi said, if you bring your gift to the altar, and there you remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift and be on your way. First, be reconciled to your brother, and then return and offer your gift to God. Okay? Why? Okay, but why? Okay, here's the reason. So that when you call down the water of God's love and that water finds its way to the basement of your heart and your mind, then what it finds there will be love. And what it finds there will be joy, and it will be kindness. What it finds there will be peace. What it finds there will be connection to other people. Now, we might step back, and we might ask, and we might say, okay, so if water, if God's is, try again, if water is God's love and kindness, then why does it bring out negative qualities? Well, we understand that it does not necessarily bring out negative qualities. It just brings out whatever it finds. But when it brings out the meanness and the unkindness, it's doing something that water likes to do. Okay? Something that water is especially good at. And what is that? Water washes things. Okay? Water really likes to make things clean. And so when the spiritual water gets to the basement and it starts bringing out the bigotry or the anger or the greed, it's doing this so that these things can be cleansed and healed. I mean, how can it be healed if you don't even know it's there? Now, here's the thing. Healed and cleansed, it doesn't mean that we announce, well, I'm forgiven, so there's nothing I need to do. It doesn't work that way. When people announce, well, I'm forgiven, that just puts all that stuff back in the basement. Okay? Puts it back in the basement. And that's what we see on the news when we wonder, what makes them crazy? Now, sometimes we get to a place and we wonder, and I've been there, we've all been there. We wonder, why is it that prayer seems to go unanswered? And maybe that's for another Sunday morning. But I'm going to give you a prayer right now that will be answered every single time. All right? All right, here it is. Here it is. Please, divine light, show me where I need healing. Please, divine light, show me my negativity. That prayer will be answered every time. Okay. And then it's up to us. Then it's up to us to do the work, to ask for forgiveness from people that we have hurt and make it right and use the light that's offered us to remove that negativity, then it's cleansed and then it's healed. And when we've done our work, and when we've humbled our own ego, and we've asked for forgiveness from people that we've done wrong to, then grace will do the rest. Now, that's a miracle, okay? Now, speaking of spiritual water, they say that this is the beginning of the age of Aquarius, okay? It's no coincidence. I mean, seriously, it is no coincidence that Aquarius is the sign of the water bearer. The water bearer. Do people even still talk about the age of Aquarius anymore? I mean, is that still a thing? Remember, peace will guide the planets and love will steer the stars. Remember that? Mystic crystal revelation and the mind's true liberation. I mean, great lyrics. And what a beautiful and iconic song from the Fifth Dimension back in 1969. Speaking of the 60s, excuse me, but what does it really mean? Or does it mean anything at all? Actually, it does, okay? But the age of Aquarius, the water bearer, is not something that's going to be imposed upon us. All right. In other words, we're not going to walk outside one night. We're going to look at him and say, "Woo, look at that. Peace is guiding the planets." You know, I said, "Oh, look at that. Love is steering the stars." You know, maybe if you're tripping on some of that legal weed, but otherwise, you know, it's just not going to work that way. This is not something that we're just going to randomly wake up and discover, well, it happened overnight. It's on the news. No. The age of Aquarius, the water bearer, begins when we bring it ourselves, right? The age of Aquarius begins when we say it begins. And it begins for each one of us. Listen. It begins for each of us individually, all right? That's the beauty of this new energy. When it has begun for enough of us individually, then it will indeed dawn for the whole world. So, how does the age of the water bearer begin for each of us individually? All right? It's very simple. It's so simple, it's hidden in plain sight. It is the age of the water bearer. All right, what does that mean? It means that to become the bearer of the water of God's love and kindness to the world. You see, when we ask the light to show us our negativity, and we start to, really seriously work on that. Show me my negativity so I can get to work and eliminate and cleanse it. And we eliminate the fear with love. And we eliminate the greed with sharing and the intolerance with peace. And we ourselves humble our own ego with the grace of the Holy Spirit. Then we become bearers of the water of God's love and kindness. We become the bearer of that water. And we begin the age of Aquarius, the water bearer, in our own lives. Okay, that's where it has to start, but it begins when we say it begins. The when of it, let's let that be this very moment. Okay, now, speaking of the first day of the new year, I said we're gonna do 3 things. 2 questions, and then something special. So this first day of the new year is like a blank slate. Okay, it's like a piece of blank paper, a dry erase board with nothing written on it. It's like a fertile field waiting for a seed. So this morning we answered 2 questions. What is it about religion that seems to make people crazy? And what is the meaning of the waters that existed before creation? The third thing is a special New Year blessing. Okay. This morning, by studying and listening to wisdom teachings about the water of God's love and kindness, we are planting a seed of love and kindness for our new year. By being here this morning, this is amazing. By being here this morning to listen and learn about the water of God's love and kindness, we have planted a seed for the new year. Your new year blessing is a seed of love and kindness, a seed of joy, a seed of healing, a seed of peace, indeed, a seed of miracles. And this seed will grow and bear good fruit and blessings throughout the new year of 2023. So may God, who blesses the years, bless each of us with such an abundance this year that we may share our light with the world to make the world a better, kinder, more peaceful, and more beautiful place. It's up to us. Let's do it. Ron, back to you.
Oh, so mote be. All right, that's great. Thank you, Mark.
Awesome. Awesome.
I don't know what that is.
Thank you.
Anyone want to speak to Mark? Jerry's coming, Marion's coming. Boy, they're rushing me, so it's okay.
They're rushing the stage.
They're rushing the stage. That's okay. I like rushing stages.
Hi, Marion.
Hi, Mark. Thank you.
Hi, Marion.
Hi. Yeah,
I got it.
okay. What a great talk
Thank
for
you.
the beginning of a brand new year. Even the first day, first month of a brand new year. And Mark, it reminded me of a Native American story
Uh-huh.
that I think most of us are familiar with. And it tells of a grandfather saying to his little grandson, there are two wolves inside of you. And the wolves are fighting each other. Each one wants to be the victor. There's a good wolf and a bad wolf. Well, grandfather, which one will win? The one you feed. So,
Thank you, Mary.
you're
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Marion.
Oh, I know.
Hi,
Hi, Jerry.
I've always disliked New Year's resolutions, and so I like your concept a lot better of how to approach a New Year's resolution rather than considering it a resolution that you break about halfway through, that it's something that you can actually carry with you and work on every day without it requiring giving up something or working at, without having to physically get down and do sit-ups or give up eating chocolate or something like that. But I like your concept a lot better, and it's a great day to remind us of what we're doing. And I love the concept of the water coming down. I really do. I don't care if it's rain or a waterfall. I love it.
Me too.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Jerry.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Kate.
It's so good to see you, and you look wonderful.
Thank you.
And your messages have been, well, I'm in the Kabbalah. I'm into studying the Kabbalah.
Very
Right
good.
now, I'm reading the Kabbalion. So I just appreciate your messages so much. Looking forward to seeing and hearing you on and at fellowship more often. Thank you. God bless you in your new year.
You too.
And God bless everyone. And Godspeed.
Thank you, Mark. That was an astounding beginning day affirmative, pardon me while I fumble here, affirmative message that you gave. In fact, the only thing you lacked is when you brought the water up, I thought you were going to dump it over your head.
You would like that.
I would have liked that, yeah. But here I am. Baptize me, brother. Anyway, if I could, I would be your agent and sell that talk, and we'd both be rich.
Bless your heart.
I love you, Mark.
I love you too.
Anyone else? In the beginning, I was reminded of, the definition of a cult is the church down the street.
Right. The crazy ones.
Yeah, those crazy ones, yeah. Those crazy ones down the street. They just don't get it. Yeah, but anyway, thank you very, very much, Mark. And what a wonderful way to start our new year with the thoughts. And they were right along with my spiritual reading. What would love do now? It would magnify all those things that we need to have healed. That's what love does. And so that's why it's not always easy, but it is always productive and it is always worthwhile. Thank you, Mark. We hope that you have a great day in Kentucky and that your year is full of abundance and health and prosperity and lots of love.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, so now we're going to have another song. And that song is going to be
These things.
The Greatest Thing, page 241 in the Brown Book.
The greatest thing in all my
just want to thank everybody for all the prayers that were sent up for me while I had my back surgery and was recovering. And I know it made a difference. I just absolutely know it made a difference. Thank you, everybody. I know why I keep coming back to this place.
All right, thank you, Betty. We're glad that you're back with us.
It kind of blanked my memory there.
It's okay. Still weak, but
Yeah, you're doing great.
in pain and healthy.
Yes.
Stamina is the thing of which we need the most, and when we need it, it's rebuilt. So when we have an inactivity like you did when you were, recovering from your operation, that's when you lose strength. But you will build it back, you will become stronger, and you will be more stable. I have no doubt.
Thank you.
Okay. So now we're going to celebrate our abundance. So let us put over our heart that which we intend to contribute, and say, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive through infinity. I am prosperous. Well, I have no idea what the year 2023 might bring. However, there's some things that I'm certain on, and I do not have to wonder, and that is that if I seek love, I will find love, and that I do not walk alone, that I have my God and my understanding of my God, and I have you people in the fellowship to travel with me to begin this new adventure. If I look back at the time before us as a trial and a tribulation, that's probably what I will get. I'd prefer to look at it as an adventure. I want to find out what's over the next hill, what's around the next bend, because it's going to be different. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what it's going to be, but it will be different than it was in 2022. And that to me is pretty exciting. And it gives me the opportunity to love and to grow in that awareness and love. And that's what else would a person want? Anyway, that's what I think. Anyway, so announcements. You have any announcements, Steve?
Yeah, the fence outside to fence out our furry friend who likes to stink the place up is in progress. Believe me. Unfortunately, he, she, or it hasn't moved back into place in the meantime. So I think grace is on our side, but it will be done probably this week.
Okay, so we're working on preventing the stinky from coming into our house, please. Okay, so that's good. But we've had none since we started the fencing project. So maybe our furry friend realizes that his time of is done coming under our house.
Just be sure it's down before we put in that final.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jerry, do you have anything you'd like to say, or anybody have any announcements that they would like to make?
We have a board meeting, we should have a board meeting next, week, but we have nothing to discuss other than the, incoming new board members and thanking the old board members for hanging in there with us over the years. And, but unless somebody comes up with a need for a meeting, I don't think we'll have one.
Okay, all right. So we'll have a board meeting if we need one, and we won't if we don't. I guess that's the message I got anyway. So
Well, I don't know if we, I don't know if there's any changes anybody wants to make or you do things. We haven't had a budget in 3 years. It's really hard to have a budget when you don't know what the income is. So I don't feel like it's something that we can do at this point. But I hope that everybody who will receive from Glenn the financials for the end of the year, please look them over carefully. They were very interesting this year, very interesting, and we had a good year.
Yeah.
We've had a great year. You know, for the most part, we've had between 6 and 15, 18 people here in the sanctuary. We've had between 4 and 12 on the Zoom meeting. Our speakers have been consistently informative and good, and so I'm looking forward to a great 2023.
Right. So the prognosis is good. The financials are good, and our attendance is split between Zoom and here, which we knew, but it expands our footprint on the planet, doesn't it? So that's really good. So we're looking forward to growing more and more in the new year.
Well, and our Christmas Kids thing was very productive and popular. We gave gifts to 12 children.
Okay. Did y'all hear that? We gave gifts to 12 children in need who needed something, that weren't going to have very good Christmas. We were able to affect the lives of 12 children in a very positive way. That was you. You guys did that.
I'm sorry, Betty?
Was that Jerry and Dee?
That's Rhonda and Dee.
Rhonda and Dee facilitated that giving, but it came from every single person who's ever put a nickel in the basket.
So they did our thing.
Yeah.
They did the shopping, the wrapping, and the delivering.
Okay. Is there anything else? Well, Father, Mother God, as we close this service and begin our new dance with life as we go forward, we thank you and we ask for your protection and blessing as we travel the road of 2023. We ask that you would be with us at each and every step, and we have no doubt that you will be, but we ask that we be able to be aware of that presence more and more as we travel forward. In the name of the Christ consciousness, amen. Okay, so now we're gonna circle up and sing a song.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the ocean wide with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home. We must together, we must together in unity and love. We must together, we must together in unity and yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God as our Father, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, peace begins with me. yes, this is the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me.
May God bless you and keep you until we meet again. Till we meet again. All right. Okay. We still gonna have,
Yeah.
we're gonna have Course in Miracles on Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. We're on Zoom. We're gonna have, Power of Eight
We're ready to roll.
on Thursday night.
Glorious thing is,
And,
the first day of the year. is
you can
on
get there
Sunday.
through the same connection that you used to get here today.
No.
So,
That means,
there we go. Everybody have a good day, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
yeah, whenever the first day is on Sunday, then Friday the 13th.